For weeks now, the entire Salem PD, Rafe included, has been laser-focused on Jeremy Horton as their prime suspect in the stalking and kidnapping of Stephanie Johnson. And look, on the surface, it made sense. Jeremy has history. He's got baggage. He's got that energy where you're never quite sure if he's good or bad, and the writers love to play in that gray zone with him. Michael Rourke brings this intensity to Jeremy that honestly keeps you guessing, and I think that's exactly why the show leans so hard into making him look guilty. But here's the kicker: it was all misdirection. Classic soap opera sleight of hand. While we were all staring at Jeremy, the real monster was already in the room. And honestly, I'm a little annoyed at myself for not seeing it sooner. Because when you look back at the clues, the breadcrumbs were there. The real culprit, Owen, and the wait of 16 years. Let's talk about Owen. Because this is where the story stops being just a thriller and starts becoming something genuinely disturbing on a psychological level. Owen. 16 years ago, Stephanie Johnson was kidnapped and held hostage, and Owen was her captor. Now, what's chilling here isn't just that he took her. It's what the show is now revealing about his mental state. He didn't just see her as a hostage. He fell for her. Or at least, that's what he told himself. That's what he built up in his head over all those years. Think about that for a second. For 16 years, this man has been carrying around a fantasy, a warped, obsessive delusion that what happened between them during that kidnapping was somehow meaningful. That there was a connection. That she felt something too. This is not love. This is textbook obsessive fixation, and the fact that DOOL is exploring this so deliberately tells me the writers are going somewhere really dark and really interesting with Owen's psychology. What Owen is doing right now isn't random. He's not just some generic villain of the week. He is recreating the scenario that he's been replaying in his mind for over a decade and a half. He kidnaps Stephanie again. He puts her back in that vulnerable position. And in his twisted worldview, he genuinely believes that if he can just recreate the circumstances, if he can strip away her normal life, isolate her, make her dependent on him, she'll finally see what he sees. That is deeply, profoundly frightening. And also, it's genuinely compelling television. I'll be honest, I have a lot of problems with how the Salem PD handles investigations on this show, and we'll get to Rafe in a minute. But the character work being done here with Owen is impressive. This isn't a cartoon villain. This is a man shaped by a single traumatic, warped experience that he never processed, never let go of, and has now let define his entire existence. That's tragedy and horror wrapped up in one. Jeremy Horton, the most complicated suspect in Salem. Now let's talk about Jeremy, because I think he deserves some serious defense right now. Jeremy Horton has never had it easy on this show. Legacy character status means everyone already has opinions about you before you even open your mouth, and Jeremy has always walked this razor's edge between reformed bad boy and guy we're not quite sure about. That's not a criticism of Michael Rourke's performance. Honestly, he's one of the more underrated actors in the current cast. And he brings a genuine complexity to Jeremy that I don't think he always gets credit for. But here's what's actually happening this week that has me so fired up. Jeremy isn't just innocent. He's actively trying to save Stephanie. He followed the trail to that warehouse himself. He got there before the authorities. And what does he get for his trouble? Alex Kyriakis, all rage and jealousy, and that particular brand of protective fury that Alex specializes in shows up and immediately starts throwing punches. Let's be real for a second. Alex Kyriakis assaulting someone based on assumption is not exactly new behavior. Robert Scott Wilson plays Alex with this overwhelming alpha energy that I find both incredibly entertaining and occasionally exhausting. And this situation is a perfect example of why. The man leads with his fists and asks questions maybe afterward. In any other context, this would be played for comedy. Here, with Stephanie's life on the line, it's genuinely dangerous. Jeremy, to his credit, is apparently going to hold his ground and insist he's there to help. And I believe him. More importantly, I think the evidence is going to back him up, which is going to make Alex look very bad. And honestly, he should have to sit with that. The drug clue, Rafe's investigation, and why this changes everything. Okay, now we get to the investigative thread that I think is the most important development of the week. And it's the one that's going to crack this whole case open. The sedative. This is the detail that matters. Rafe gets lab results back on the drug the stalker used to take out the cops stationed outside Stephanie's door. And the results are, to put it mildly, fascinating. This sedative is not available through any pharmaceutical company in the United States. It's not a street drug. It's not something you can just get at a compounding pharmacy. This is something specialized, exotic, the kind of thing that requires either significant black market connections or, and here's where my brain goes, a specific kind of institutional access. Kat Green, played by Annalyn McCord, is the one who first clocks the implications of this. And I love this moment for Kat, because she's been a somewhat underutilized character, and this feels like the writers finally giving her something to sink her teeth into. The question she raises is the right one. If this drug can't be obtained through normal channels, how on earth would Jeremy Horton have gotten it? And the answer, of course, is that he probably couldn't. The drug trail doesn't lead to Jeremy, it leads somewhere else entirely. Somewhere that connects directly to Owen. Now, this is where I want to make a prediction. And I'm putting this on record right now. I think Owen's access to this drug is going to reveal something about his background that we haven't fully explored yet. 16 years is a long time. What has Owen been doing in the intervening years? Where has he been? What connections has he built? The sedative clue, I believe, is going to open up a whole new dimension of who Owen actually is, and it's going to be darker than anyone currently suspects. Rafe's instincts are good here. When a detail doesn't add up, he doesn't dismiss it, he pulls on that thread. And that's exactly what he's going to do. This drug clue is the pivot point that shifts the entire investigation away from Jeremy and toward the real culprit. Steve Johnson versus Owen, legacy meets justice. And then there's the moment that every Patch Johnson fan has been waiting for. Because if you're going to come after Steve Johnson's daughter, you had better be prepared to answer for it personally. Steve confronting Owen is going to be electric. Stephen Nichols has been playing this character for decades, and there is something in the way he carries Steve's particular brand of paternal fury that just works every single time. This isn't controlled police procedure. This is a father who has spent weeks watching his daughter be victimized, who has been operating on the edge of his composure, and who has now found the man responsible. The fact that this confrontation happens right in front of Brady is a fantastic dramatic choice. Brady's shock at watching Steve, usually so controlled, so strategic, just launch at Owen and demand answers, is going to be one of those gasping moments that Days does so well when it lets its characters be completely, missily human. Now, I want to put this in historical context, because I think it's important. The last time Steve had to face someone who hurt Stephanie this deeply, the aftermath shaped him for years. The trauma of a parent watching their child be victimized doesn't go away, it calcifies into something fierce and permanent. When Steve grabs Owen and demands to know where Stephanie is, he's not just acting as her father in this moment. He's acting out of every fear, every sleepless night, every moment of helplessness he's accumulated over a lifetime of loving that girl. That's the layered storytelling DOOL is capable of at its best. And this is that. Theories, and what comes next. Alright, theory time. This is my favorite part. Theory 1. Owen has an accomplice. The drug that can't be sourced in the US suggests organizational support, or at least someone with very specific connections. I don't think Owen is operating entirely alone. There may be someone else in Salem who has been quietly enabling him, possibly without even fully understanding what they're helping him do. Theory 2. Stephanie's rescue is going to be messier than we expect. Multiple parties are converging on that warehouse: Alex, potentially Rafe, and now Steve zeroing in on Owen's location. When that many people with that many emotional stakes are involved in a rescue, things go wrong. Somebody gets hurt. I'm predicting a complication, possibly Alex's recklessness creating a dangerous situation right when they're closest to getting Stephanie out safely. Theory 3, and this one is spicy. Owen's obsession with Stephanie isn't just about her. I think there's something about what Stephanie represents to him, maybe something about her family, her legacy, the Johnson name that feeds into his fixation. This wouldn't be the first time on DOOL where a villain's obsession turned out to have roots deeper than simple attraction. If the writers are smart, they'll use Owen's psychology to say something about how trauma, obsession, and victimhood can become cyclically destructive. The bigger picture, what this storyline says about DOOL right now. Here's my honest take on where Days of Our Lives is as a show in this moment. This stalker storyline, when it's firing on all cylinders, is exactly what I want from DOOL. It's using its history. It's connecting present events to things that happened over a decade ago. It's letting legacy characters like Steve carry the emotional weight they've earned the right to carry. And it's giving newer characters like Jeremy a chance to be more than what they appear. Do I think the Salem PD's investigation has been written a bit sloppily? Yes. Absolutely yes. The idea that Rafe and his team were this far down the wrong track for this long strains credibility, even by Salem standards. But I can forgive that because the payoff, the drug clue, the pivot, the convergence at the warehouse feels earned. What I love about this arc is that it's fundamentally a story about how the past doesn't stay buried. Owen represents 16 years of unresolved, festering obsession. Stephanie is being forced to confront something she survived once and thought was over. Steve is reliving parental nightmares. Even Jeremy, in his own way, is fighting against the past, against everyone's assumption that he's the villain because of who he's been before. That's thematic richness. That's soap opera at its most purposeful. So where does all of this leave us? The investigation is about to make a hard turn in the right direction. Jeremy is going to be cleared, and I expect some very awkward apologies to be owed, starting with Alex. Owen is going to be exposed, and I genuinely cannot wait to see what Steve does when he gets real answers. And somewhere in that warehouse, Stephanie is holding on. I'll be honest, I'm nervous for her. Because in soap opera logic, the closer we get to a rescue, the higher the chance something goes catastrophically sideways first. If you've been sleeping on this storyline, now is absolutely the time to catch up. This is Days of Our Lives doing what it does best, taking history, layering it with present drama, and reminding us why we've been watching this show for so many years. Drop your theories in the comments. Do you think Owen has an accomplice? Do you think Alex is going to cause problems at the worst possible moment? And unpopular opinion space, are there actually any Jeremy defenders out there? Because I am now officially one of them. Like, subscribe, and I will see you for the next breakdown. Because in Salem, there is always a next breakdown.